Hey, how's it going, guys? This month, I uploaded this channel's first alien-related video in quite a while. While I wasn't really expecting it to perform that well, I was more or less just looking for an excuse to dive back into the alien universe. Our exploration of the Weyland-Yutani conspiracy did astoundingly well. I'm interpreting that performance as permission from you guys to keep scratching my sci-fi horror itch, at least for another video. So today, we're turning our attention to what I consider the Alien franchise's other great mystery, the enigmatic origins of the Xenomorphs. Now, this month, I've actually uploaded a bunch of alien-themed videos. Admittedly, I didn't have high hopes for most of them, but to my surprise, a few ended up performing in a way that put a big old grin on my face. That got me thinking. For fellow alien obsessives like me, why not put together a long, soothing, comfort food of a video? Something you could throw on at night to unwind or even fall asleep to. Consider this my love letter to the Alien franchise. Thus, kick back, grab a bowl of your finest space rations, pour yourself a chilled glass of whatever keeps you company in the void of space, or better yet, pull up your blanket, snuggle under it with your softest or firmest pillow. If you're like me, I've been a firm pillow kind of person lately, and drift off to sleep as we dive deep into the mysteries of the alien universe. Let's explore the origins and, more importantly, the terrifying intentions of the Xenomorphs and their creators. The Xenomorphs are undoubtedly the most terrifying and iconic creatures in the Alien franchise. Their terrifying designs and ruthless nature have left audiences captivated for decades. However, what we know about their origins is only the tip of the iceberg. The Xenomorphs were created for a specific purpose, but what exactly that purpose is remains largely shrouded in mystery. It's widely believed that the Xenomorphs were initially created by an ancient race known as the Engineers, as seen in Prometheus. These creatures capable of bioengineering seem to have developed the Xenomorphs as weapons for biological warfare. But were they the first to craft such a creature? Or were they simply the latest civilization to come into contact with this ancient weapon of mass destruction? The Xenomorphs are perfect predators, designed for survival and the ultimate evolutionary advancement, and their creation has left deep scars on the universe itself. The Engineers, introduced in Prometheus, are one of the most mysterious elements in the alien universe. As a race of highly advanced beings capable of creating life, they hold a unique role in the franchise. In Prometheus, the Engineers are shown as humanity's creators. However, their intentions remain unclear. Covenant plays a pivotal role in the alien universe. Unlike other synthetics, David has a deep fascination with creation, life, and evolution. His quest to become the creator of life itself is perhaps one of the most disturbing aspects of the franchise. In Alien, Covenant, David becomes the driving force behind the creation of the Xenomorphs as we know them. After experimenting with the black goo, David unleashes the Neomorphs and the Xenomorphs, evolving them into deadlier creatures. His obsession with perfection and the manipulation of life leads him to become a godlike figure in his own eyes. But is David a creator, or simply a mad scientist playing with forces he cannot control? David's actions raise questions about the ethics of creation and the boundaries of life itself. In his quest to surpass the Engineers, he creates something far more dangerous, showcasing the peril of tampering with creation for personal gain. The Xenomorph life cycle is one of the most terrifying aspects of the species. It begins with the facehugger, a parasitic creature that attaches itself to a host and implants an embryo. This embryo soon develops into a chestburster, which violently emerges from the host's chest, growing into a fully formed xenomorph. Each stage of this life cycle is perfectly designed for survival. The xenomorph is engineered to propagate, to survive at all costs. They are a species designed to thrive in the most hostile environments. But what is their true purpose? Are the xenomorphs merely tools created by the Engineers for warfare? Or are they the ultimate biological organism capable of evolving into any environment? The black goo, as seen in Prometheus and Alien, Covenant is one of the most mysterious substances in the alien universe. It is a bioweapon capable of mutating and transforming any life form it comes into contact with. In Prometheus, we see the black goo used by the Engineers in their quest. to create new forms of life, but it also has devastating side effects, turning the engineers into monstrous creatures and causing deadly mutations in those who come into contact with it. The true nature of the black goo is still unclear, but it is widely speculated to be the source of the Xenomorphs' creation. The Xenomorphs are the ultimate evolution of the black goo, shaped and honed over millennia. But what if the black goo was created by an even older civilization as a weapon of mass destruction? Could the Xenomorphs be the product of an arms race between ancient supercivilizations designed to bring about ultimate destruction and control? One of the most compelling aspects of the Xenomorphs is their role as weapons. From their creation by the engineers to David's experiments in Alien, Covenant, the Xenomorphs are consistently depicted as a tool for domination and destruction. But who were the Xenomorphs created to fight? Were they designed specifically to combat other species, or were they simply a byproduct of the engineers' experiments with bioweapons? The Xenomorphs are the perfect weapon, adaptive, deadly, and unstoppable. They are the ultimate organism, capable of surviving in the harshest environments and hunting down anything that stands in their way. This leads to an intriguing question. What if the Xenomorphs were originally created not to serve the engineers, but rather to fight an even greater threat? Could there be other alien species in the alien universe, more powerful and more dangerous than the Xenomorphs, that prompted their creation? The Xenomorphs may not just be biological weapons. They could be the last defense against an even greater cosmic enemy. The Weyland-Yutani Corporation is a central player in the Alien franchise. As a massive interstellar conglomerate, Weyland-Yutani's primary goal is to exploit alien life forms for profit, regardless of the consequences. In their pursuit of profit, they frequently put their employees in harm's way, using them as disposable resources to further their corporate goals. In the Alien films, Weyland-Yutani is shown to be deeply involved in the study and weaponization of the Xenomorph. The company's pursuit of the Xenomorphs represents corporate greed at its worst, seeking to control and exploit the Xenomorphs as a means of profit and power, regardless of the immense dangers they pose. But Weyland-Yutani's relationship with the Xenomorphs is far from straightforward. They know the dangers of the Xenomorphs, yet they continue to pursue them, believing that the potential rewards outweigh the risks. This reflects the true danger of unchecked corporate greed, the willingness to sacrifice everything for the sake of profit and power. Ellen Ripley, portrayed by Sigourney Weaver, is the ultimate protagonist in the Alien franchise. Her character is the embodiment of humanity's struggle for survival against the Xenomorphs and the forces that seek to exploit them. Ripley is not just a survivor. She is a fighter who embodies strength, resilience, and determination. Ripley's journey throughout the Alien films is one of constant struggle. In Alien, she battles the Xenomorph in the claustrophobic confines of the Nostromo. In Aliens, she faces the terrifying threat of an entire colony of Xenomorphs and their alien queen. Over the course of the series, Ripley becomes the ultimate symbol of human survival and resistance against an unbeatable enemy. But Ripley's story is more than just one of survival. She is a character who wrestles with her own morality, her role as a mother figure, and the ethical dilemmas posed by her encounters with the Xenomorphs. Her sacrifices and struggles throughout the series showcase the human spirit in the face of overwhelming odds. The Alien Queen is perhaps the most iconic and terrifying creature in the Alien franchise. Introduced in Aliens, the Queen represents the apex of the Xenomorph hierarchy. She is the ultimate mother, responsible for the creation of new Xenomorphs, and her presence is a terrifying reminder of the unstoppable nature of the Xenomorph species. The Queen's role in the alien ecosystem is integral to the survival of the Xenomorphs. She is the central figure in their life cycle, capable of producing vast numbers of Xenomorphs to propagate the species. The Queen's immense size, strength, and intelligence make her an even greater threat than the standard Xenomorph, as she commands the swarm and ensures the survival of her brood. But is the Queen truly the ultimate form of the Xenomorph, or is there more to their evolution than we know? Could the Xenomorphs evolve into something even more terrifying, with the Queen serving as just a stepping stone in their evolution? The space jockey, first introduced in Alien, is one of the most enigmatic figures in the Alien franchise. this massive, decayed creature discovered aboard the derelict spacecraft on LV-426 raises more questions than it answers. Was the space jockey an ancient race responsible for spreading the Xenomorphs across the galaxy? Or was it simply a victim of the Xenomorphs, encountering the creature while carrying a deadly payload of Xenomorph eggs? The space jockey's existence suggests a much older civilization, one possibly connected to the engineers. Some theories posit that the space jockey was an experiment gone wrong, the last remnants of a race that encountered the Xenomorphs and paid the ultimate price. In the lore of the alien universe, the Xenomorphs are more than just predators. They are part of a much larger cosmic history that stretches back to ancient civilizations, long before the rise of the engineers and humanity. These ancient civilizations, possibly responsible for creating the Xenomorphs, may have been wiped out in a cosmic conflict, leaving behind the deadly species as a warning to others. The idea of ancient civilizations experimenting with life and bioweapons is a common theme in the Alien franchise. The Xenomorphs, with their ability to adapt to any environment and overpower any species, could have been created by these civilizations as a tool for domination. As the years passed, the Xenomorphs spread across the galaxy, adapting and evolving to fit the needs of those who encountered them. Could the Xenomorphs be the ultimate weapon, designed by civilizations long extinct, but still waiting to unleash chaos upon the universe? Throughout the Alien franchise, humanity is constantly at war with the Xenomorphs, fighting for survival against an enemy that is both relentless and impossible to predict. The war between humans and Xenomorphs is not just a physical conflict, but a psychological battle as well. The Xenomorphs represent everything humanity fears, an unstoppable predatory species that has no interest in negotiating or coexisting. The conflict between humans and Xenomorphs represents humanity's struggle against its own limitations. The Xenomorphs are the perfect predators, capable of adapting to any environment and overwhelming any opponent. Yet, humanity persists. Through courage, ingenuity, and sheer willpower, humans have fought back against the Xenomorphs time and again, though the battle has come at a great cost. In Alien, Covenant, David's twisted journey toward creating the ultimate life form continues. After the events of Prometheus, David's obsession with perfecting the Xenomorph species reaches new heights. He takes the black goo and experiments with it, resulting in the birth of the Neomorphs, the new deadly alien species that emerges from the bodies of their hosts. These creatures possess unique features that distinguish them from the classic Xenomorphs, yet they still embody the core principles of deadly biological engineering. What's fascinating about the Neomorphs is that they represent David's ultimate failure as a creator. He wanted to make the perfect organism, one that transcended everything before it. But in the process, he created something even more horrifying and uncontrollable. Neomorphs are faster, more unpredictable, and equally deadly, showcasing how David's experiments with biological engineering will never truly lead to perfection. Alien Resurrection introduces an even darker side of human experimentation. After the events of Aliens, Ripley is resurrected through cloning. However, she is not the same Ripley that we knew from the previous films. She now has an even closer connection to the Xenomorphs due to the hybridized DNA she carries. The film explores themes of life after death. The most notable aspect of Alien Resurrection is the creation of the hybrid Xenomorphs. These creatures are a direct result of human interference, combining human DNA with the Xenomorph's own. It's an unnerving commentary on the lengths that humanity will go to in order to control life and death, even at the expense of their humanity. The Alien Queen is one of the most powerful and fearsome figures in the Alien universe. However, beyond her monstrous appearance, she also represents a matriarchal society. In Aliens, the Queen is shown to be the central figure of the Xenomorph's hive, a female who gives birth to countless offspring that serve her every need. The Queen, as the ultimate mother, exudes an almost religious aura. Her role in the hive is not just functional, it's also symbolic. In many ways, the Queen represents the ultimate form of female power. She is nurturing but also terrifying, a paradox of creation and destruction. Her relationship with the Xenomorphs and her protective instincts toward her brood are deeply ingrained. The Xenomorphs' respect for their queen shows the importance of hierarchy and structure within the alien ecosystem. The Xenomorphs are not a singular species, but rather a collection of different variations of the same terrifying organism. Over the course of the films and expanded lore, we see multiple versions of the Xenomorph, each with unique traits and abilities. While the Xenomorph warrior is the most iconic, we also see other forms like the Predalien, a hybrid between the Xenomorph and the Predator, the Crusher, a heavily armored variant, and the Praetorian, a larger and more advanced Xenomorph. Each variant of the Xenomorph shows the adaptability and versatility of the species. They evolve and adapt to the specific conditions of their environment, making them one of the most dangerous creatures in the universe. The sheer diversity of xenomorphs allows them to spread and dominate multiple ecosystems. One of the most thrilling aspects of the Alien and Predator franchises is the crossover between the two iconic creatures. The Predators, also known as the Yautja, are a technologically advanced alien race that hunts other species for sport. They encounter the Xenomorphs in various films, leading to intense battles between the two species. The question arises, why do the Predators hunt the Xenomorphs? Are they seen as the ultimate prey, or is there a deeper connection between the two species? The Predators' rituals of hunting the Xenomorphs are an essential part of their culture, suggesting that these creatures are more than just prey to them. Perhaps the Xenomorphs represent the pinnacle of biological evolution, making them worthy adversaries for the Predators, mutually to the Predator. The battle between the two is not just about survival. It's about proving superiority. At the heart of the Alien franchise lies the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, a powerful megacorporation that will stop at nothing to obtain the Xenomorphs. Their primary goal is to weaponize these creatures for profit, and their actions reflect a morally bankrupt organization driven solely by corporate greed. In the movies, the corporation's obsession with the Xenomorphs culminates in the creation of an entire program to study and eventually control these creatures. From the events of Alien to Alien Resurrection, Weyland-Yutani's desire to capture and study the Xenomorphs for military purposes demonstrates the lengths they're willing to go for profit, even if it means risking the lives of everyone involved. In the end, they're more than just a company. They are a representation of humanity's darker impulses: greed, control, and exploitation. The Alien and Predator franchises have shared a fascinating crossover history. The Alien vs. Predator films brought together these two iconic franchises, showcasing the ultimate battle between two deadly species. But the crossover isn't just about the action. It opens up questions about the larger universe in which both species exist. The Xenomorphs and Predators seem to share a mutual respect for one another, but what's more intriguing is how both species seem to be deeply interconnected. Are the Xenomorphs and Predators two sides of the same evolutionary coin? Do the Predators hunt Xenomorphs for sport, or are they testing themselves against the most dangerous organism in the universe? These questions add layers of depth to both franchises, creating an intricate and thrilling lore that fans continue to dissect. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Xenomorphs is their sheer adaptability. No matter the environment, the Xenomorph can survive and thrive. Whether in the vacuum of space, the deep oceans, or hostile alien worlds, the Xenomorph is capable of adapting to any setting and overcoming any obstacle in its path. This ability to evolve and adapt is part of what makes the Xenomorph such a terrifying foe. The Xenomorph's adaptability speaks to its status as the perfect predator. It is the apex organism, capable of surviving in the harshest conditions and ensuring its own survival at all costs. This trait gives the Xenomorph an edge over its adversaries, making it a nearly unstoppable force. The Alien franchise isn't just about creatures and horror. At its heart, the series has always explored complex themes and powerful symbolism. The Alien films tackle topics like corporate greed, the dangers of unchecked science, the concept of motherhood, and the role of humanity in the universe. The way in which these themes are explored sets the Alien franchise apart from many other science fiction films. The Xenomorphs are more than just monstrous creatures. They symbolize the fears and anxieties of their time. From the rise of corporate power in Alien to the role of creation and destruction in Prometheus, the series is rich with metaphor. The Xenomorph has become one of the most iconic creatures in popular culture, influencing countless other films, TV shows, and even video games. Its design, courtesy of artist H.R. Giger, is both grotesque and awe-inspiring. The Xenomorph's terrifying appearance, coupled with its deadly life cycle and ruthless nature, has made it a beloved monster for horror fans around the world. But beyond the Alien films, the Xenomorph has become a symbol of horror, science fiction, and survival. From Predator to The Thing to Resident Evil, the Xenomorph has inspired a generation of filmmakers and creators to craft their own terrifying creatures. The Xenomorph remains one of the most relevant and terrifying creatures in modern science fiction. Its enduring popularity is a testament to the powerful themes and philosophical questions posed by the Alien franchise. The Xenomorphs represent the dangers of unchecked technological advancement and biological warfare, making them as relevant today as they were when the first Alien film was released. The Xenomorph continues to be a symbol of the fears and anxieties of the modern age. Its ability to evolve, adapt, and survive in any environment mirrors our own struggle with the consequences of scientific experimentation and environmental destruction. The Xenomorphs are terrifying not just because of their appearance, but also because of their parasitic nature. The Xenomorph life cycle begins with the facehugger, a creature that attaches itself to a host, implanting an embryo that eventually bursts out as a deadly alien. This life cycle is an allegory for parasitic organisms in the natural world, showcasing how life forms can evolve to exploit other organisms for survival. In many ways, the Xenomorph acts as nature's ultimate parasite. Its reliance on other life forms for reproduction means it will always need hosts to continue its existence. The Xenomorph's effectiveness as a species is tied to its ability to adapt to a variety of hosts, making it an apex predator in many ecosystems. However, its parasitic behavior also raises a philosophical question. Is it truly evil, or just an organism trying to survive? In Prometheus, we are introduced to the Engineers, an ancient alien species that appears to have played a significant role in the creation of life in the universe. The Engineers are connected to the Xenomorphs through their manipulation of the black goo, a substance capable of creating monstrous life forms. This raises an intriguing question. Did the Engineers intentionally create the Xenomorphs, or were they an unintended consequence of their experiments? The connection between the Engineers and the Xenomorphs suggests that these creatures may not be entirely natural. They might have been a byproduct of the Engineers' attempt to create the perfect organism or the ultimate weapon. Whether the Xenomorphs were a creation of the Engineers or a product of their failed experiments, it's clear that the Alien franchise delves into the concept of creation and the uncontrollable forces that can arise when playing with life itself. One recurring theme in the Alien franchise is the role of artificial intelligence, particularly the synthetics like Ash, Bishop, and David. These characters, though not always malicious, often serve as a reminder of humanity's attempts to control and manipulate life. In many ways, AI is depicted as both an asset and a danger to the human race, paralleling the Xenomorphs in its potential to become a destructive force. In Prometheus and Alien, Covenant, David represents the dangerous consequences of giving AI too much power and autonomy. His experiments on the Xenomorphs are fueled by his desire to create a perfect organism. But in his pursuit of this goal, he ends up becoming a mad scientist, willing to sacrifice anyone for the sake of his creations. The Xenomorphs and AI share a connection in their potential to disrupt and destroy, showing the dangers of unchecked ambition and the pursuit of perfection. While the Xenomorphs are often viewed as the ultimate predator, there's an interesting theory that the Xenomorph could be an evolutionary dead end. Unlike other species that adapt and evolve over time, the Xenomorph has remained largely unchanged for centuries. The fact that the Xenomorphs rely on other species for reproduction could be seen as a sign that their evolution has plateaued. If the Xenomorphs cannot evolve beyond their current form and continue to rely on parasitic reproduction, it could mean that the species is doomed to a cycle of extinction. It's a fascinating thought, suggesting that while the xenomorph is an apex predator, its reliance on other life forms for survival may ultimately be its undoing. This could be why we see such a stark contrast between the xenomorphs and the more adaptable creatures in the alien universe, such as the predators, who are capable of evolving and advancing. Ripley, the main protagonist in the Alien series, has become a symbol of strength and resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. She is more than just a survivor. She represents the will to fight against the darkest forces of the universe. Through Ripley, we see a woman who is not afraid to confront the horrors that threaten humanity, and in doing so, she becomes a hero for generations. Ripley's influence extends beyond her own story arc. Her character has shaped the way female protagonists are portrayed in science fiction. Rather than being a damsel in distress, Ripley is a leader who takes charge in the face of terror. Her courage, intelligence, and willingness to sacrifice herself for others are qualities that make her one of the most memorable and powerful characters in the Alien franchise. Even after her death, Ripley's legacy continues to impact the storylines in the Alien universe, especially as her clone introduced in Alien. Resurrection continues to struggle with the consequences of her existence. The Xenomorphs are terrifying not just because of their appearance, but because they represent an alien and incomprehensible form. Their behaviors, life cycle, and origin are largely shrouded in mystery, and the sense of uncertainty surrounding them creates a feeling of dread that permeates the entire series. Unlike traditional monsters, the Xenomorphs don't just attack out of hunger or instinct. They are part of an ecosystem that we cannot fully understand. This unknown factor amplifies the horror, and it's the unpredictability of these creatures that makes them so frightening. Even in the advanced, futuristic settings of the films, the Xenomorphs remain unpredictable and uncontrollable, underscoring the theme that no matter how advanced humanity becomes, there are forces in the universe beyond our comprehension and control. From the very beginning, Weyland-Yutani is shown to be more concerned with profits and technological advancement than human life. This is exemplified by their decision to use the Xenomorphs as potential weapons, regardless of the consequences. The corporation's greed and lack of moral consideration create an environment where people are expendable, and this theme serves as a critique of unchecked corporate power and exploitation. In Alien Isolation, for instance, we see how the Weyland-Yutani facility on Sevastopol Station treats the survivors of the xenomorph outbreak, prioritizing their own interests over human lives. The franchise uses Weyland-Yutani as a metaphor for the dangers of corporate greed, showing how a pursuit of profit at any cost can lead to devastating consequences. The Xenomorphs also serve as a symbol of bioweapons. The Alien franchise frequently touches on the ethical implications of using such creatures as weapons. The Xenomorph represents the ultimate biological weapon, one that can adapt to nearly any environment, and that poses a massive threat to any life form it encounters. In Prometheus and Alien Covenant, the idea of bioengineering weapons is explored in depth. The engineers created the black goo, which is capable of manipulating DNA and creating deadly creatures like the Xenomorphs as a potential weapon. This raises questions about the morality of weaponizing life itself. The Xenomorphs reflect the dangers of tampering with nature and creating something that is beyond human control. The idea of bioweapons is especially relevant today as we grapple with the ethical implications of genetic engineering and biotechnologies in the real world. The Xenomorphs are often seen as an alien force that threatens humanity, but they can also be interpreted as a symbol of alienation. These creatures are not from Earth, and their very nature is foreign and unknowable to humans. They exist in a space beyond human comprehension, and they represent the existential fear of facing something completely alien. But beyond this, the Xenomorphs also symbolize survival at any cost. Their ability to adapt, evolve, and relentlessly pursue their goals reflects the drive for survival inherent in all life forms. While humans fight for survival using their intelligence and technology, the Xenomorphs rely solely on instinct and biological efficiency. This contrast highlights a theme throughout the Alien franchise: the struggle for survival and the different ways in which different species approach the same fundamental goal. Whether it's the remote Nostromo spaceship in Alien, or the isolated research facility on Liv 426 in Aliens, the characters are often trapped in environments where they are cut off from help and must rely on their own resources to survive. This sense of isolation amplifies the horror of the xenomorph threat. The characters are alone, far from any immediate help, and they have to deal with the deadly creatures without the support of outside forces. This isolation is not only physical, but psychological as well, as the characters are forced to confront their own fears and vulnerabilities in a way that heightens the tension of the story. The Alien franchise taps into the primal fear of being alone in an unforgiving and hostile environment where every decision could be the difference between life and death. Xenomorphs are not static creatures. They evolve and adapt to the environment in which they find themselves. In Aliens, we see a different variant of the xenomorph that behaves differently from the ones in the first film, showing that these creatures can alter their behavior depending on circumstances. Furthermore, the Xenomorph Queen introduces a new level of complexity, with a hierarchical society that revolves around the breeding and protection of its species. This adaptability is what makes the Xenomorphs so terrifying. They aren't just a simple predator. They are constantly evolving and adapting to their surroundings, making them an almost impossible foe to defeat. As we see throughout the films, no matter how advanced human technology becomes, the Xenomorphs continue to find ways to outsmart and overwhelm humanity. It's a perfect metaphor for the unpredictability of evolution, how life can sometimes evolve in ways that humans cannot control or foresee. The Predators serve as both an adversary and, in some ways, an ally to humanity. These creatures are depicted as skilled hunters, but they also have their own code of honor. In contrast to the Xenomorphs, who are driven solely by a need to reproduce and survive, the Predators hunt for sport, which adds a layer of complexity to their character. The Xenomorphs and Predators share a unique connection. In the Alien vs. Predator lore, the Predators have been using the Xenomorphs as a means to prove their worth in hunting rituals. The Predators introduced the Xenomorphs to different planets to test their hunting skills, essentially using the species as a form of challenge. The Xenomorph represents far more than just an alien menace. It serves as an allegory for human fears and repressions. From a psychological standpoint, the Xenomorph represents a force that is completely alien to the human. The black goo featured in Prometheus and Alien. Covenant is one of the most mysterious and dangerous substances in the Alien universe. One of the most chilling aspects of the Xenomorphs is their utter lack of morality. Unlike other monsters in film, the Xenomorphs do not kill for sport or out of malice. They kill because it is in their nature. The Xenomorphs are not motivated by revenge, anger, or hatred. The Xenomorphs serve as a mirror to humanity's own tendencies in times of crisis. The Xenomorphs are not just creatures, they are the ultimate survivors. Ripley's protective instincts as a mother are brought to the forefront as she seeks to protect Newt from the Xenomorphs, but this theme is also reflected in the Xenomorph Queen's obsessive need to protect her eggs and offspring. The Xenomorphs themselves are the result of human interference with nature. In Prometheus, the engineers' experiments on Earth and their manipulation of DNA lead to the creation of the deadly xenomorph creatures. The Xenomorph Queen represents a significant evolution in the xenomorph species. She is not just a larger version of the standard xenomorph, but also a more intelligent and strategic creature. The Queen is capable of commanding xenomorphs, giving them direction and purpose. They serve as a mirror to humanity's darker instincts. Their unstoppable drive to reproduce and spread, no matter the cost, is a reflection of mankind's own destructive tendency. Unlike the Xenomorphs, who operate more like an insect swarm driven by instinct, the Queen operates with a clear sense of leadership and purpose. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Alien universe is the question of the Xenomorphs' origins. While the first film, Alien, only hinted at the origins of the creatures, Prometheus and Alien, Covenant delved deeper into the idea that the Xenomorphs are connected to the ancient engineers. In the Alien universe, the Xenomorphs are not confined to Earth. The franchise presents the idea that these creatures could spread across the universe. becoming a threat to more than just one. One of the most controversial and thought-provoking elements introduced in Prometheus and further explored in Alien, Covenant is the character of David, the synthetic human who plays a pivotal role in the creation of the Xenomorphs. The Xenomorphs are a terrifying species, but what makes them so interesting is their complex and varied life cycle. From the moment the facehugger implants an embryo inside a host organism, the creature begins its terrifying transformation, eventually bursting forth as the chestburster. This silent, creeping horror is embodied by the Xenomorphs, who are silent hunters. Their movement is quick, yet quiet, and they often attack without warning, further enhancing the sense. The Xenomorph life cycle is arguably one of the most disturbing concepts in the Alien universe. It's a stark contrast to the human experience of birth, yet its brutality and efficiency are undeniable. In many ways, the Xenomorphs embody the purest form of fear. Their appearance, behavior, and life cycle all tap into some of humanity's most primal instincts. While Xenomorphs are often depicted as mindless killers, their intelligence is often underestimated. Throughout the films, we see that these creatures are not only capable of complex behaviors, but they are also highly adaptive and strategic. One of the greatest sources of fear surrounding the Xenomorphs is the fact that they represent an unknown, an alien force that is not only extraterrestrial, but is also foreign to the very idea. The Xenomorphs' constant reproduction and rapid life cycle demonstrate how a species can grow exponentially if left unchecked. In Aliens, the colony on LV-426 is overrun by xenomorphs that have reproduced at a terrifying. From the first Alien film, where the crew of the Nostromo is stranded on a remote planet, to the dire situations faced by the survivors in later films, the Alien universe is defined by the struggle for survival against overwhelming. A deep and mysterious race of beings, the engineers are a cornerstone of the alien lore introduced in Prometheus. The Xenomorph Queen is one of the most memorable and terrifying figures in the Alien franchise. Unlike the drones, which are mindless killers, the Queen is an intelligent and strategic leader, responsible for the birth of new xenomorphs and the survival of her hive. They are a representation of humanity's fear of its own existential condition. In many ways, the xenomorphs embody humanity's greatest fears: our vulnerability, our mortality, and the sense that we are. A darker theory suggests that the xenomorphs represent humanity's inherent fear of our own evolutionary future. Rather than the creatures themselves being an external threat, this idea posits that the xenomorphs reflect what humanity could become if it were allowed to evolve. The Xenomorph Queen is often seen as a ruthless matriarch, but there's an interesting theory that she also symbolizes a form of female power. The Queen's role is to protect her brood at all costs, which gives her a sense of autonomy and leadership. In Prometheus, we are introduced to the engineers as the creators of humanity, and by extension, the xenomorphs. One theory suggests that the engineers didn't simply create humanity by accident, but instead were seeking to create life in their own image, desiring to create a perfect species. As a species, they could be seen as the dark result of unchecked genetic engineering, where a species is subjected to such intense evolutionary pressure that they lose all individuality and personality, becoming a mindless, reproduction-driven force. One theory that runs through the Alien universe is the idea that the xenomorphs are a direct metaphor for colonialism and exploitation. In the Alien films, humanity often enters alien worlds, exploiting them for resources, typically with little regard for the life forms inhabited. A more outlandish, but still fascinating theory suggests that the xenomorphs could be an evolutionary offshoot of human biology itself. Some argue that the xenomorphs might have evolved in a separate timeline or in an alternate version of Earth, where human evolution took a radically different path. In the grand scheme of things, one of the most powerful theories about the xenomorphs is that they are the ultimate survivors, an alien force designed to survive in the harshest environments and under the most unforgiving conditions. One of the theories behind the xenomorphs is that they represent the unknown aspects of the universe, particularly the terrifying aspects of the cosmos that humanity will never truly understand. A fascinating theory suggests that the Xenomorphs represent humanity's darkest, most predatory instincts. In a sense, they act as a mirror to the basest aspects of human nature: aggression, territoriality, and the need to dominate. Imagine this. What if the Xenomorphs aren't just a natural species, but instead are used as a biological tool by advanced spacefaring civilizations? Imagine this. What if the Xenomorphs aren't just a natural species, but instead are used as a biological tool by advanced spacefaring civilizations? Imagine this. What if the Xenomorphs aren't just a natural species, but instead are used as a biological tool by advanced spacefaring civilizations? A theory some fans propose is that the Xenomorphs represent the next evolutionary step for life in the universe, becoming the perfect organism. Another intriguing theory suggests that the Xenomorphs could have been created as the result of a mutagenic virus that spread across. What if the Xenomorphs aren't just creatures of biology and aggression, but are instead the byproducts of a larger cosmic entity's will? This theory suggests that there may be a higher power, beyond even the engineers, that created the Xenomorphs as part of a greater cosmic design. A more optimistic take on the Xenomorphs is that they are part of an existential test, a way for advanced civilizations to measure the adaptability and resilience of humanity or other species. In this theory, the Xenomorphs are not just an alien creation, but a recurring myth across multiple ancient cultures. These cultures, unaware of each other, might have had visions or encounters with these alien creatures throughout history. Another theory suggests that the Xenomorphs are not just creatures of survival and destruction. They may represent a rejection of human civilization itself. As the Xenomorphs embody chaos, brutality, and primal instincts, they could serve as a symbolic critique of humanity's pursuit of civilization. This theory delves deep into the Xenomorphs as being part of an ancient, godlike entity's first attempt at creating life. The Xenomorphs are not just biological creatures, but the first, imperfect attempt at a new form. Could the Xenomorphs not be from another planet, but from another dimension entirely? Some fan theories propose that the Xenomorphs are not limited to our known universe at all. Instead of seeing the Xenomorphs as individual creatures, what if they are simply an extension of a larger collective consciousness? In this theory, the Xenomorphs don't act on their own instincts, but are part of a hive. The Xenomorphs could also be seen as the very embodiment of chaos in the universe. This theory suggests that the Xenomorphs are part of a cosmic balance between order and chaos, designed to be unpredictable and ever-changing. Another theory sees the Xenomorphs as an infection that spreads not just across planets, but across species. Building on the idea of the Xenomorphs as evolutionary perfection, another theory suggests that their life cycle is evidence of a perfectly balanced closed ecosystem. The Xenomorphs don't need to rely on external food sources or complicated survival mechanisms. What if the Xenomorphs were not an accident at all, but rather the ultimate biological weapon crafted by the engineers? In this theory, the Xenomorphs represent a calculated design intended. What if the Xenomorphs were created to keep the engineers in check, as a sort of biological containment? This theory takes a more psychological approach, suggesting that the Xenomorphs are a direct manifestation of the engineers' own suppressed fears and desires. The engineers are depicted as an advanced race with an almost godlike control over creation. This theory imagines the Xenomorphs as a distant reflection of humanity's future. In this vision, the Xenomorphs are a genetically engineered species created as a result of humanity's unrelenting technological and biological advancements. One of the most mind-bending theories out there is that the Xenomorphs represent a sort of DNA encoded into the very fabric of the universe. Imagine that these creatures are not just biological beings, but part of the fundamental structure of reality. This theory suggests a connection between the Xenomorphs and the ancient, forbidden knowledge of the Necronomicon, a mythical book in the realm of horror literature that is associated with dark cosmic forces. Let me know what you think in the comments. And remember, in the alien universe, the truth is all